Hey guys, welcome to Clean Greens Living. I hope everyone's well. It's your girl Queen Bree and Robyn T. We're broadcasting off of Rainier Avenue Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hi, Queen Bree. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in again to Clean Greens Living. We are broadcasting from unceded occupied Duwamish territory, aka Seattle, Washington, and our original theme music is produced by Cuddy Fresh, aka Carrie Williams. And Queen Bree, what have we got today for the listeners?
I'm so excited. Happy Black History Month, everybody.
Yes.
Woo, woo. Well, listen, a few of us is Black all year round, so we celebrate Black history all year round, 365 days a year. It's been about a couple of years, I won't say my age, since I've been celebrating Black History Month, but who's going to turn down an extra month to highlight your people and your culture? So today we're going to be here talking about food and social justice with our girls from Community Alliance for Global Justice, and we'll be kicking it off talking about the Black Panther Party. So our guest today is Lisa Colligan and Sophia Kitay. I hope I pronounced you guys' name right. Please let me know when you come in the show. Lisa is an intern and organizer for CAGJ, and has been working with them for nearly 2 years. She is the lead liaison between Uprooted and Rising Block's corporate settlement campaign. And I'm trying to read this correctly and I'm messing up. Anyways, CA&J's solidarity work to ensure salmon does not reach markets. GE salmons, that means they don't want them to genetically create salmon and bring it to the market. I know I don't want nobody creating my salmon, so please, let's keep the fight. And then we have Sophia, who is co-chair of the Food and Justice Projects and sits on the steering committee for CAGJ. And she has done research for their campaign that watches and reports on the Gates Foundation ties to biotech farming in Africa. She has been organizing with CAGJ for around a year. These ladies came into Clean Greens this summer. We had a youth program, and we hope to continue on this youth program. They came in and taught our youth about food equality and healthy access. So let's get this started. And we hope to continue on this youth program. They came in and taught our youth about food equality and healthy access. So let's get this started. So let's talk about the Black Panther. We have a little feedback.
There's a little delay when they popped in. Hi.
Hi. So let's start talking about the Black Panther Party. The Black Panther Party was an African American Revolution Party founded in 1966 in Oakland, California by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. The parties originally started as the purpose to protect African Americans against police brutality in neighborhoods. And as they started to go on to protect African Americans from being drafted, trying to stop them from being drafted in the army, protect them from sanctions against white Americans, and ask for reparations for all the exploitation of labor by African Americans to the white community. So, Robyn, what do you want to share about the Black Panther?
Yes, they also did a lot of programming that was just amazing. They're revolutionaries. They're very inspiring what was done in the Black Panther Party. They had a 10-point program really asking for basic human rights, freedom, full employment, decent housing, free healthcare, an immediate end to police brutality and murders of Black people, and decent education that teaches true history. They also started several social programs, and there's ties to Seattle today with these social programs still. They started health clinics, and one of their most famous social programs is the free breakfast program for school children and children. So the health clinics they started and the breakfast programs spread throughout 36 cities in the country mainly, and also some around the world. But the health clinics they started in Seattle are still operating today, and they're some of the only ones still operating throughout that they started, and that's Country Doctor and Carolyn Downs. And then the kids breakfast program kind of became a model for the kids breakfast program today. So it's pretty amazing that they were setting up these models of mutual aid and really taking care of their community. And the program in Seattle went on even after the chapters closed down till 1980. They were doing the free food programs for the kids. So that is super inspiring to us when we're talking about food and social justice. And it was really tragic that those programs ended. So we're here to talk about the history as well as ties to it today and how the fight is going today. So really, really inspired.
I know you said you watched a documentary on the Black Panthers. Where did you watch that documentary at?
Yes, so I went to Amazon Prime, and it was on PBS. So if you have a PBS subscription or Amazon Prime, I think there could be other ways, and there are other documentaries, but that one was really good. So
it's just crazy to like watch these documentaries, hear people talk, and to know that we are still in this fight today. And this is one of the reasons why we brought the girls on to talk about the food and social justice just within our food. We always think race as in black and white, but we never think about the fact that they're not feeding us correctly. And when you go into different grocery stores, depending on your neighborhood, the fruits and vegetables look a lot different in some of the poorer neighborhoods than in the richer neighborhoods. And then the prices are even different in the poor neighborhoods and the richer neighborhoods. Like if I go to Safeway in the CD, their fruits and vegetables are far by way better than the Safeway on Othello. And that's not even that far in between each other. It's crazy. Or the Renton Fred Meyer versus the Renton Fred Meyer, the Fred Meyer and Berrien, their produce is totally different.
yeah.
So we're bringing the girls on to talk about the Food and Justice fight and what are they doing to help the community. So we welcome Sophia and Lisa. We're bringing the girls on to talk about the ladies fight and what are they doing to help the community. So we welcome Sophia and Lisa. We're bringing the girls on to talk about the ladies fight and what are they doing to help the community. So we welcome Sophia and Lisa.
Hi, y'all. Sorry.
Hi, there we go.
Back on our end. Can you hear us okay?
We can hear you guys just fine. So we just introduced you guys. You guys are with Community Alliance for Global Justice Education. Can you tell us a little bit about your agency? You guys just fine. So we just introduced you guys. You guys are with Community Alliance for Global Justice Education. You guys want to introduce us about your agency?
Yeah. Okay, awesome. I'll go ahead and just dive in with talking a little bit about the Black Panthers Party Free Breakfast Program, just to build on what you were saying, Robyn. I also wanted to add in that the reason why the Black Panthers Party Free Breakfast Program was so radical and so important is that it really centered around the idea of mutual aid. And the reason why mutual aid is so important is that not only is it a community taking care of itself, but it's training its own community to be able to do that. And it's also not leaving the decisions of who gets to have access to this aid up to largely wealthy white folks when we talk about a charity model. So the reason why there's been so much pushback, and it's really frustrating that the US government really squashed the free breakfast program. It was actually called the I think it was called the most detrimental part of most dangerous part of the Black Panthers Party, because it was working. And so it made the Black Panthers Party harder to dissolve. And then the US government actually just took the idea, co-opted it, and made it their own. And while it is wonderful that 14 million students have access to free food, the fact that it was taken from the Black Panthers Party and turned into a charity model is really problematic. And we need to be looking more in depth at that and building up mutual aid. So a lot of our efforts is trying to just go back to local food initiatives and bringing the decisions back into the communities that are being affected.
Yeah. Did you hear that all right?
Yes, we heard that fine. Okay, nice. And you know what? Another piece of information that I never knew when we talk about them dismantling it, one of the main things they were doing were going and knocking on people's doors and telling them that the food was poisoned, the food was nasty, like just really tainting them. And that's just crazy that Black people can't show up in their community without someone trying to tear them down. And it amazes me how people still say to this day that we can do things if we wanted to. But as you see, when we try, we always break down. But the beauty of now, we don't have to do that because we're stronger and we're going to fight regardless. So that's nice. One of the things I enjoyed about you guys coming to our program is we don't really think about how food is brought up and taught in our families, or how some families don't have access to that food. So predominantly poor families don't have access to clean and healthy foods and are not taught how to eat healthy. But it seemed like when you guys was there, you guys were focusing on healthy eating for the children.
Yeah, and I think one of the most problematic things about the way that assistance programs and municipal, state, and federal government approaches lack of nutrition in the most marginalized and impoverished communities is that when the educational curriculum focuses on how the individual can eat better, like how you can, for example, a kid can perhaps teach their parents about the food pyramid, and then through teaching their parents about the food pyramid, they can eat better and they can eat more fruits and vegetables. And it completely denies the fact that the issue is systemic and not placed on individual families. Because at the heart of it, everybody wants to be nurtured. Everybody wants to have affordable and good access to foods that are culturally relevant and make them feel good. And so I think that's another wing of the co-optation by the U.S. government from, these really radical programs that were started by grassroots organizations such as Black Panthers, is that they take it and then they put a spin on it in a way that takes the power from the people, whereas the Black Panthers are putting the power back into the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robyn.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how you mentioned culturally relevant too, because when it's just a federal program across the board for every student, it doesn't take into account regionally, they may want to eat these types of foods, or culturally they may be more interested in eating these types of foods. And so it's a little less inclusive that way. And it could be more stigmatizing instead of inclusive and kind of empowering that way. So yeah, everything you're saying is about it being problematic is true. And it was such a great program to have all those kids being able to access that. And food access is so important. And when that's intentionally blocked in that way, it's absolutely frustrating. And it's really nice, just on a personal note, to have reconnected with the story of that and watched the documentary, and then been able to have, you know, people still in the fight and keep the torch going for all of that. So I'm just happy to be here for this conversation too. Thanks.
And it's nice to, it's I'm wondering, because I know when they were doing the program, they were feeding more children than the schools was feeding children. And just imagine if that wouldn't have happened, if it wasn't taken away from them. I still feel like some kids may still be being missed in this food program. So it's something that we want to keep in the forefront of keeping up that fight of feeding children, because it was documented and known that when the children was eating breakfast, they weren't complaining about stomach aches. They were able to learn. They were more focused because they weren't hungry. So the breakfast program was really important, and we're so happy to pay homage to the Black Panther Party as with all that they did as far as protecting the Black community and making sure that the children were fed. So, Lisa and Sophia, what brought you to the food and social justice fight? What was your aha moment? Was like, this is a problem?
Yeah, we were actually.
Before you guys answer, can you do me one favor? I don't know all the rules of social distancing, but if you, like, when one's talking, if you can remove the mask, or I don't know, because we can hear you, but we can't really hear you.
Yeah. Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Lisa and I were actually just talking about this before we hopped on the show. And I think for us, what really brings us to the food justice movement is that when you're learning about and thinking about social justice and ways to build a better world, it can be really overwhelming and really disheartening and scary, and hard to figure out where to get involved, because the issues that we're tackling are so giant and so complicated, and the solutions are just as giant and complicated and are going to take so much work. So fighting capitalism, fighting racism, fighting sexism, fighting all of these incredibly prevalent systems is hard. And I think that food justice takes this really beautiful slice of the pie that is anti-racist, it is feminist, it is in so many ways, it just encapsulates so many of these ideas that we are fighting for and working towards, and offers really real actionable solutions that everybody can get involved on different levels and whatever their capacity is. And I also think food is something that everybody can connect on, that we can all agree, no matter what, that we all need food. And many of us really love food and can connect over food. And so how can we work to make our food system anti-racist, equitable, for all? And I think that is, for me, what really brings me into the food justice movement, as well as, all the cool folks that I get to meet along the way.
Nice. Okay,
Thanks.
before you answer, just 1 second. I just want to let everyone know who's coming in. You are watching Clean Greens Living on Rainier Avenue Radio, and we have our guests here, Sophia and Lisa for Community Alliance for Global Justice. Before you respond, can you make sure you keep the mic up to your face?
Yes, definitely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm wearing 2 masks, so just shout if you can't hear me. Yeah, that was really beautiful, Sophia. Thank you. I completely echo everything that Sophia is saying, and that I think there's this element to food justice that shouldn't be overlooked in that it's this material, spiritual nexus of social justice where, right, food is the thing that sustains us. Food, good food, clean water, clean air, healthy communities. These are the things that make us as humans and occupants of this earth survive and when given to us and supplied to us in the right ways, it can actually make us thrive. And so that to me is just the pure beauty of what food justice is. And I think something that keeps me in this movement is, like Sophia said, help the cool people that are doing this really important, necessary work, and also how good at community building food justice is. So, for example, in the wake of the police brutality over the spring and the summer, just recently in 2020, in Seattle locally, we all heard about all of these incredible mutual aid projects popping up, and all of these mutual aid projects center food justice and food sovereignty in their work, because food is the lifeway. It's our lifeblood, and so I just find that really great. That it's if a project isn't focused around food justice will be an undercurrent in a social justice project. So yeah, I think that's definitely this thing that underpins and keeps me.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Who wants to talk to us about the salmon?
Yeah, I can do that. So I liaison for CAGJ with Uprooted and Rising, which is a national campus-based supermajority BIPOC group of food activists advocating for better food servicing on their campuses. And right now, UNR has a project called Black Corporate Salmon that CAGJ.
I'm sorry, it's called what?
Black Corporate Salmon.
Black corporate salmon?
Black corporate salmon.
Block.
Oh, block.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can write it out later. So basically the campaign is writing on the efforts of indigenous leaders that have been resisting genetically modified animal industry for decades. And so CAGJ as an organization was inspired by Valerie Seagrass basically leadership in opposition to genetically engineered salmon. And so a while ago we joined the fight, and we're joining with UNR now. But basically the issue is that genetically engineered salmon is a cultural and ecological keystone species all along throughout the world, but it's an especially potent issue here in the Pacific Northwest because Pacific Northwestern tribal groups have created entire cultures around this keystone species. And so for the past 30 years, there's this one corporation called Aqua Bounty Technologies that has been splicing the genes of Atlantic salmon, king Chinook salmon, and ocean trout to create basically this super monster fish that grows in half the amount of time that a wild salmon grows, basically to produce as much salmon as possible and bring loads of it to market. And so this issue is kind of coming to a head right now in 2020 because this corporation is promising to release the salmon into the U.S. food market without ever consulting with tribes and basically ignoring all of the threats that GE animals present to our ecosystems, to our health, right? Like the nutritional content and value of this genetically engineered salmon is lackluster compared to wild salmon, and it breaches indigenous sovereignty as well. And so at the root of this is it's a water protecting issue. It's a biodiversity issue, and it's a tribal sovereignty issue. And so I think this is a fight that all of us can rally around. Everyone who wants good, healthy, nutritious food that doesn't threaten sovereignty and actually uplift sovereignty. And so there's a bunch of ways to get plugged in. If listeners are listening and this is a part of your heart that's being awakened, yeah, there's a bunch of ways to plug in. And you can reach out to Black Corporate Salmon and Uprooted Enterprising or CAGJ to come in. But yeah, if you guys have any questions.
Thank you so much for talking about that. It's really important how you were talking about connecting with people in the food justice movement, and especially the part of mutual aid that is listening to what the communities need instead of telling them what they need, and specifically listening to the Black community, and then as you were mentioning, the Native and Indigenous community on what a detrimental effect this will have introducing this salmon. And we're getting a little close to time, so we might want to just chat a little bit about where we can find you and what we can all keep doing in this food justice fight. Thank you so much. Bree.
Oh, no, I thought we were going to say where can we find you guys at to sign up to help you guys, either by volunteering, donating. Where can they sign up to? And also these guys, I want to just mention, we will be going live on Clean Greens Farm Market on Instagram tomorrow, just to continue this discussion about food and social justice. So can you guys quickly tell us where they can find you guys?
Yeah, so if you are interested in getting involved with what we're working on, you can either email me directly at sophia@cagj.org, and I can plug you into the Food Justice Project, which Lisa also is tied to. You can also email our broader food justice email, which is fjp@cagj.org, or you can go ahead and just check out our website and become a member.
Thank you. We are out of time, so it's been so fun talking to you. You want to take us out, Bree?
Thanks for joining Clean Greens Living and Rainier Avenue Radio. Thanks, Lisa and Sophia, for joining us in. Thank you, Daniel, our sound guy. We appreciate you. Join us next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Your community.